First of all, welcome back. We're glad to see everybody. That's including the players that will be um, on a video conference here in a couple hours. First, I want to start though this with just my heartfelt feeling for Trez Paler and his family. Just how much we cared about him uh, and the great job in which he did. He was he did his job the way um, the way that it needs to be done. It was fair. Had a good heart about it, and really told the truth. And so that's as a sitting in this position, that's all you can obviously ask for. So, but a lot of respect for him and the job in which he did, and we saw him grow right here in Kansas City, and it's just a tragic deal. The other part I wanted to address was about Britt Reid. Um, Obviously, my prayers and thoughts go out to everybody involved. Because of the legal situation, I can't talk about it now, but just from a humane standpoint, my heart goes out to those that are involved with it. Like I mentioned, we do have the opportunity to talk to the players today. This is the beginning of phase one. It'll be virtual for us, and we'll have a 2-hour block there where we can visit with the players on the actual scheme evaluations that we've been going through as a staff here on this past season. Again, that's always an interesting time because you can go through and make yourself a better football team if you approach it the right way. And so that's what we're working towards in this still pandemic era here. We're working through it the best way we possibly can. We've been able to add some players to our roster, and we lost a few, and with Mitch Schwartz and Fish, Sammy Sherm, Damian Wilson. That these are people that are potentially moving on. Unfortunately, with the first two that I mentioned, with Schwartz and Fish, you run into these cap situations. Brett Veach and his crew have done a great job of managing this to give us opportunities to continue to work at the top of the league as a football team. And so some of these things had to be done. But the greatest thing about this is those guys, with their stay in Kansas City, they go out as champs, and they can hold that with them, and they'll be reared here for forever, and celebrated for that forever in this city. And so and again, you never know. This is a small fraternity of teams, and so you never know what goes around could come back around to you. And so, not that they're not back with us at some point, but that door always remains open. These guys did it the right way here. And then the addition with the Joe Tooney, Kyle Long, Jaron Reed. We've added a few people in here, and Veach isn't done. You know how he rolls. He's very aggressive, and and he's staying on top of his game. We get Larry back, Tardif, and so I think that's a nice positive to add into that offensive line mix. So I think we've got a pretty good nucleus going there. Also had a few coaching changes take place. Greg Lewis is going to have the opportunity to move over to running backs. There wasn't a lot of changeover in the staff, so I want guys to continue to be able to have that opportunity to grow. Greg actually came to me about wanting to the challenge of coaching the running backs, and as you guys know how I feel about Greg, he's very, very intelligent. has a great feel for the game, did a phenomenal job with the wide receivers. And now he's able to learn that other side, the protection side, and all that goes into coaching the running backs in the run game, and still give them tips in the pass game to make them even better than what they are now. And then Joe Blameyer, who I've also mentioned before, has an opportunity to coach the wide receivers. He's been the assistant wide receiver coach for a couple of years, and he moved back to quarterbacks, and then now he's back in the wide receiver room as a full-time coach. David Garrardi will take Joe's spot as the pass game analyst, assistant quarterbacks coach. Connor Embry, who was working as a defensive assistant, now moves over to the offensive side. You remember he played wide receiver at Kansas. He moves over to the offensive side as an offensive quality control coach. Hired Ken Flagel on the defensive side to coach the outside linebackers. Ken and I go way back to our time at El Paso, at the University of Missouri, the Green Bay Packers, and then and now back here. So Ken's got a long list of great accomplishments in the profession. Donald D'Alicio is our defensive assistant. He takes the place of Connor Embry and comes from the college ranks back to us here in Kansas City, and he'll do a nice job. He's got a nice defensive background to him, and he'll be a nice addition in there. And then Tyler Judkins replaces Travis Critton, who took a job working internationally in the Caribbean, one of the islands there, and Turks and Caicos. So it gives him an opportunity to develop future Olympians. And then Tyler Judkins gets to replace him here. I say that I was hesitant to tell you Turks and Caicos. In case you're there, go ahead and look them up. I mean, you can look at a small island, go ahead and look them up. Maybe you get a free meal from them. So Tyler, again, he'll become our assistant strength and conditioning coach. So I think with that, I've covered most of the new things that have taken place right here. You're free to again ask your questions.
Let's go first to Herbie Tiopi. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. Always good to see you.
Yes, Herbie. Thank you.
Hey, a couple questions here. We got a few players returning off of injury: Mahomes, Willie Gay, DeAndre Baker, Taco Charlton. Where are they in their process in recovery from surgery, and then how are you projecting them to be ready for on-field work in a month and a half? And then the second question will follow.
Yeah, so I think Herbie, they're actually doing well, making progress. They've been coming back into the building, which helps, where our guys can work with them a bit here, and so that's been a positive. I can tell you firsthand that things are getting better. I know Pat ends up being kind of the primary concern as we go, but they're all they're all good football players and can help us win football games, which obviously is our goal, our final goal. So, but Pat's doing tremendous. He's got great flexibility in that toe. He's worked his tail off. Not a real fun thing to do with that. It seems like a small thing, but that toe was rather large and stiff before the surgery and after the surgery. So he's really worked hard at getting that right.
And my second question, I was going to ask about the offensive line, but Alex Smith just announced his retirement. What are your thoughts when you think of Alex Smith now riding off into the sunset after his career and your time with him?
Yeah, so I mean, you guys know what I feel about him. He's just a heck of a person. Had a great career. Played so many years here with different teams, and everywhere he went, he made them better. I texted him a while back. If he gets into coaching, I get first dibs on him. So, which I doubt he will. But it's if he decides to go that route, he would be a guy that you'd love to have on your staff. So. But he's special person, go down as one of my all-time favorites there.
go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Andy, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Adam.
Good. Hey, just curious, the situation with Britt, can you sort of take us what kind of personal challenge that's been for you and what this has been like for you and for Tammy and for the family?
Yeah, you know what, Adam, I think I'm just stay away from it. I mean, like I said, my prayers and thoughts are for everybody involved in this. I mean, obviously. So, but I think I'm just gonna stay away from it. I think you guys know how my feelings on things, and I'm sensitive to situations and people in particular. So on both sides of this.
Let's go next to Mick Schaefer. Go ahead, Mick.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the interior additions on the offensive line. I'm wondering if there's still more additions to be made for the tackle positions, or if you think those answers are in-house right now.
Yeah, so we forget about the couple. Yang's the other one that we had high hopes for last year, and had a couple nice days with us before he opted out. And I think we're okay there now. But I've said this before, Brett's always keeping his eyes open. So we'll see how it all ends up. But we've got some good competition in there. I think we know, Kyle Long had played tackle, was an all-pro tackle actually his rookie year. And so we've got, we've got options and people in there, but I'm not going to tell you. I wouldn't tell you at any position that we're done looking. I mean, that's just not. We're always going to keep our eyes open, try to make ourselves better, which we need to do. We've got to do that. When you're sitting in our position, you're not just striving to stay the same. You're trying to get yourself better.
Go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you again. Joe Thuney has been the biggest acquisition for you guys this offseason. Really happened very quickly. Why was that so intentional? And what about his game in particular made him so critical to get here in Kansas City?
Yeah, Joe gives you good flexibility. You can play either guard or, center, and doing it at Pro Bowl level. So arguably one of the better guards in the league right now. If you look at him the past few years, he's just done a tremendous job. So we thought that addition in there would be great. He comes from a great culture from New England, understands what it takes to be on a winning team and keep that winning going forward. So we welcomed him aboard with that and thought it was important to get him.
Let's go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, I understand that you can't comment on Britt's case, but I'm wondering, just generally speaking, what is the alcohol policy inside the facility? I mean, are coaches permitted to drink inside the practice facility?
Well, there is a policy. There's also a league policy, and I can't go into all of that for you, Sam, but there obviously is a policy.
Let's go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned about how phase one is going to be virtual for you. And I'm curious, what did you learn from last year's virtual offseason program that you liked and didn't like? And are there things that you want to do differently this year as far as you approach that?
Yeah, I think you asked me that question once before, Matt, and kind of the same way there. Yeah, so listen, you can get things done. The most valuable thing, though, that you get when you've got the players here that you can't get virtually is the on-field experience, and being able to teach Willie Gay coming in as a rookie how to move and drop and your fundamentals and techniques, the different coverages that he's got to take care of, run fit responsibilities. When you're not hands-on, it's hard to walk through those things. And so you end up retarding the first year player, second, third year player a bit by having by only being able to do it virtually. That ends up being a bit of an issue. The other part comes in is being able to put new things in. So without exhausting it, and again, without coaches taking advantage of situations, I think that's also important. But you're able to give the players some new thoughts that through all the scheme eval that you discuss with them. Hey, listen, let's try this and let's just take a look at it. Let's see what it looks like. If it's no good, we can throw it out there rather than wasting time during training camp going over.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go Sarin and then Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sarin.
And Brett, I'll have a follow-up if I could. Coach, on what was the process like with your players as far as, we've heard a lot of other teams say, hey, we're not coming together, and they've released a statement. How did the discussion go? Did you talk with the guys? Did you talk with the leaders? Did they reach out to you as to how this off-season is going to work?
Yeah, so I gave them an idea of how it was going. I mean, things got kind of finalized right here at the end. But I trust our guys are going to work out and get that part done. I trust that they're going to be on the calls for right now, which I think is important. I mean, we can go over this whole scheme eval, and you know how much time we spent on that, Sarin. I mean, we endless hours on that thing, just trying to make it right. And so I think that's important. And that's the crawl before you walk, when hopefully you're able to get the guys in one of the other phases. But for right now, this ends up being the most important thing as we move forward. Yeah.
And then from a left tackle perspective, I know you don't have to turn around and play tomorrow, but who would be the guys that would be in the mix? I know you value flexibility. You talked about Long's flexibility, but who are some of the guys that right now you look at and say they'd be in the mix to play left tackle if you did have to play?
We're fitting that through, but we had aspirations of potentially moving Yang over to that spot. He looked like he had some potential for that when we had him last. Obviously Kyle has that flex to be able to do something like that. He's played inside too. I mean, the majority of the time he played inside, but he wasn't bad on the outside either. So, and then we've got guys coming back. So whether it's Rim or whether it's Andrew, we've got guys that have also have flexibility to play in those spots.
We'll go last to Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy. Good to see you.
All right,
Brad, I've got just a quick housekeeping thing and then kind of more of a question. First, Andy, do you have a sense for how many of your players or staff have been vaccinated?
I do. There's listen, I'm giving you approximates now. So
Sure.
There's approximately 18 that have been vaccinated. The staff will have an opportunity to do that starting tomorrow. Right now, there's a handful of them that have already been vaccinated, myself included. I think the more we can push towards that, I think that's a positive. I think giving people an opportunity to do it, I think is great as we move forward. So I just, anyways, that's my own. Listen, that's my own thought on it. I don't want anybody to get sick, and I surely don't want anybody to pass away. So I think in certain situations, a vaccine becomes important. We've seen it, from the polio era on through, that things have taken place where it's helped us as humans here move forward. So I put that right there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks. And then the other 2.5 months removed from your last game, I know the answer is probably both, right? But how much of what happened offensively was how beat up you were up front, and how much of that was, sort of what the Bucs were doing themselves strategically that may be sort of a blueprint, if you will, for teams next season?
Yeah, sure. The Bucs did a nice job. I mean, they came out and played zone coverage, and pretty standard stuff. They played their tail off, did a great job. My hat goes off to them. They were better than we were that day. I've said before, injuries can, they can do things just to the continuity of things and mix it up a bit. And you hope you go into that game healthy, but that didn't happen. So you go do your best. We plug guys in and let's go play and let the chips fall where they may. They didn't fall in our direction. But listen, I'm not going to take anything away from the job that they did. And I'm certainly not putting the blame on anybody for our game. We need to get better, obviously. I mean, they were the better team that day, so we've got a nice goal there to shoot for.